All right, I want to talk about the right way to stereo mix the Beatles. Uh, Paul and George were not fond of the stereo format and were vocal about it. I think John liked it though. But when they first started out, they had two-track recorders to record their stuff on, and so they didn't have many options. They very quickly switched to four-track, but yeah, the early stuff, the stereo mixes are not that good. A lot of time it's fault stereo, where they put all the bass in one speaker and the treble in the other, but it's a mono recording. They call it duophonic stereo. I remember, in particular, this boy has all the vocals in the left speaker and instruments in the right speaker. And to be fair, when they performed it in public, they would perform it with the three of them singing around into one microphone on the left. But now that the technology's progressed and it's possible to make the stereo version better. But I've not been that wild about the recent stereo mixes because in their later stuff, when they started to embrace, especially when John started to embrace stereo, it sounds really amazing to me. A lot of the middle and later stuff I prefer in the stereo format. And an example is A Day in the Life. The speaker, after Paul's part of the song, and John's singing, ah, it's like going from one speaker over to the other speaker, and then back, and then shifts over suddenly. And it blew my mind the first time I noticed that. But in recent mixes, I have not heard that. They've made it less shifty. A lot of the recent mixes, they kind of are compressing things toward the middle in the stereo version, so everything's coming out of the center. It's like they're trying to imitate mono, and I think that's a mistake. So I would like to see the early Beatles stuff made into a better stereo, but here's what I want happening. This is for the early stuff. I want Paul and his instrument, which usually is bass, but some things it's not. I want that in the left speaker. I want John and his instrument, which was guitar and harmonica at first, later he added keyboards. I want that in the far right speaker. I want George to be a third of the way away from the left, so he's not in the center, but he's kind of to the left of center. I want Ringo and his drums to be to the right of center. I would make exceptions if there's a recording of them doing a particular performance. For example, I've seen a video of them doing We Can Work It Out, and Paul is over here next to John, and John's playing a keyboard for that. So if there's a visual thing, then I want it to be like that. Now, this kind of falls apart at some point. I like the improved version of Yesterday with, the original version, Paul and his guitar on one side, the orchestra was on the other. I would like Paul in the center, like they have him now, but I want the orchestra more spread out. I want, like, over on the left, I want the bass, the cello, maybe the cello over where George would be, violas where Ringo is, and over on the far right, the violins. That would be a better sounding thing to me. There's a reason people like live performances of classical music. But it's starting with Rubber Soul, it starts to break apart, and they start actually using stereo as a instrument, as a way of making things. I want things to be a particular way, and so I'd like it closer to the old version for that. I want Sgt. Pepper to have the stereo I knew from the version I bought in the 70s, not this new version where the stuff is squished toward the middle.